Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of The Snake Pit. I'm your host, Son of Bat, and today I'll be talking about Public Enemies. Released in 2009, Public Enemies is a biographical crime drama film directed by Michael Mann. It is based on an adaptation of the Brian Burroughs 2004 nonfiction book, Public Enemies, America's Greatest Crime Wave and the Birth of the FBI, 1933 to 1934. This film, like the book, is set during the Great Depression and chronicles the final years of notorious bank robber John Dillinger, who is played by Johnny Depp, as he is pursued by FBI agent Melvin Purvis, played by Christian Bale. It also chronicles Dillinger's relationship with Billy Frechette, as well as Purvis's pursuit of Dillinger's associates and fellow criminals, John Wren Hamilton, Homer Van Meter, Harry Pierpoint, and Babyface Nelson, who's actually played by Stephen Graham, who's been getting a lot of, a lot more mafia roles. I mean, he's been in a lot of movies, but he's getting more notice now, I think because of, Boardwalk Empire and The Irishman, but it's always good to see him in these movies because he always fucking kills it. Now, this movie is fucking amazing. Before I even dive into it, I kind of just gave a summary of it, but before I get really into it, I just want to say this movie is awesome. It's not completely historically accurate. I mean, a lot of these movies, while they are crime, gangster movies, not really mob movies, even though the mob does get involved in these stories, a lot of these characters like Dillinger, Bonnie and Clyde and shit, they were seen as almost like legends. So with legends, you get inaccuracies with retellings of the stories. You get varied accounts here and there, but usually the facts that stay the same are, the crimes perpetrated from witness accounts and the eventual deaths of these characters. The in-between stuff, Dillinger's relationship with Billy Frechette, it could have been dramatized for, the sake of the film, which I'm not mad at. Movies got to be entertaining, but there is a very stark difference between this movie and the original Dillinger movie from 1973. I believe Warren Oates plays Dillinger in that movie, and what's his fucking name? He's in Jaws. Richard Dreyfuss. He plays Babyface Nelson. Now, that movie is less romantic in its portrayal of Dillinger. It's, I think, maybe a little bit more accurate. The guy was a criminal at the end of the day. Really fucking good criminal at robbing banks, but we can't deny that he probably wasn't the total saint that he's depicted in this movie, because in this movie he's going up to people, and in a great allusion to both Bonnie and Clyde and Heat, which was another amazing Michael Mann movie for those of you who don't know, he looks at a guy who puts his money on the bank mid-robbery and he goes, "Put that away, son. We're not here for your money. We're here for the bank's money." Interesting enough, in that story, people don't know if Dillinger ever actually said that, or if Clyde Barrow said it, because there's reports that Clyde Barrow pulled the same kind of line in a robbery, and also the same line gets used in Heat by Michael Mann. So I don't know, but going back to what I was saying about the original Dillinger movie not being as glamorous, I think that movie captures the gritty realism, but this movie definitely captures the flashy, explosive, chaos, because the gunfights in this movie are fucking killer. Tommy Guns rip, fucking BARs rip, fucking Colts going on. It's a loud fucking movie, but I don't think anyone else could have directed this. Again, going back to Heat, kind of rambling here, but it makes total sense that Michael Mann would have done this movie, because it's basically Heat in the 1930s, bank robberies, heavy gunfire in the streets. It's just, this is this guy's wheelhouse, and I don't think anyone else could have pulled this off as well as he did. Very explosive and entertaining, a lot of gunfire. It's fucking epic. I don't know what else I could say. This movie fucking slaps, see? This movie's the bee's knees. This movie's the top of the charts. No one's gonna ever put this one away, see? But, yeah, essentially the story is set in 1933, and it's in the last year of Dillinger's rampage hitting all these banks, because the FBI is basically on the verge of creation. It's starting to get some traction within the government, but as we see in the movie, J. Edgar Hoover isn't taken very seriously, because a lot of these criminals they're going after they can't even apprehend. It isn't until we're introduced to Melvin Purvis, who's played by Christian Bale, that these guys start getting taken out. The first one we see him wipe out is Pretty Boy Floyd in an apple orchard. Again, disputes on whether that actually happened or not, but it's still a great scene. You got fucking Channing Tatum in a cameo just running around ripping a Thompson off into the orchard, and then Christian Bale blows his fucking guts out with a fucking long rifle. It's insane. But then what happens is the syndicate or the mafia starts, getting into what we would later see as the numbers game, and they're organized crime. They don't like the attention, the heat. Dillinger and all these guys are getting put in the newspapers and getting called the Robin Hoods of crime and shit. And it kind of goes into that Bugsy movie where it's famous for you is not good, Bugs. Famous is good for Joe DiMaggio, not people like us. And it's true. Like, the mob doesn't want the heat of being in the papers, so they're starting to push out their connections with people like Dillinger. They're not allowed in the whorehouses. They're not allowed to like hide out or get weapons or cash or anything. They basically are cut off and left to fend for themselves. So what happens is the rest of these robbers are getting taken out by the FBI. You get to see Babyface Nelson, who has this like Colt with a fucking Thompson foregrip on the front and a huge it's like a Thompson in a 1911. Like, it's fucking crazy. Like, but there's a bunch of shootouts. People start getting fucking clipped one by one. And by 1934, after Dillinger does his famous prison break with a wooden gun, he's, instead of lying low and ditching with his girlfriend to like an island like Rio or in like Cuba or something, he keeps wanting to hit banks, and eventually it becomes his downfall. And we see the eventual end of the Depression era gangsters, like the bank robbers, everyone. They got phased out by the mob and the FBI. And it's pretty interesting to see it all go down this way. Like, it's a very, very interesting movie. Even though it isn't totally historically accurate, I'm sure there are nuggets of truth there. And, speaking of the prison break that Dillinger pulls with the wooden gun, that was filmed in the actual prison that Dillinger pulled that escape in. So it adds a little bit more realism. They really set up the movie to look like it was in the 30s. I mean, it's very clean looking, like a modern movie, but they had the old cars. It looked like there was no fuck ups or anything in the background. Like, in Gladiator, when you see a plane fly over or a watch on fucking Joaquin's wrist, like, there's none of that shit. Like, it's total immersion to the max. And, the performances were great. I mean, who do we got in here? It's directed by Michael Mann, of course, screenplay by Ronan Bennett and Bert Biderman and Michael Mann, based on Public Enemies, America's Greatest Crime Wave, and The Birth of the FBI, 1933-34, by Brian Burrow, produced by Michael Mann and Kevin Misher, starring Johnny Depp, Christian Bale, Marion Cotillard, Billy Crudup, Stephen Dorff, Stephen Lang, and of course, Stephen Graham, amongst others. Cinematography by Dante Spinotti, edited by Paul Rubel and Jeffrey Ford, music by Elliot Goldenthal. Production companies: Relatively Media, Forward Pass, Misher Films, Tribeca Productions, and Appian Way. Distributed by Universal Pictures and released on June 19th, 2009 and July 1st, 2009 in the United States, specifically Chicago, June 19th. I forgot to mention that. With a running time of 140 minutes, made on a budget of $80 to $100 million, with a box office return of $214.1 million. So this movie was pretty big when it came out, and I remember, I think this was in the theaters around the same time as Pineapple Express. And I want to say I saw this in theaters, but I honestly can't remember. I saw it around the time it came out. It could have been on a burnt copy or it could have been in theaters. But even as a little kid seeing this movie, I was always like enthralled. Maybe part of it is like the insane amount of gunfire going out throughout the whole movie. It has nothing else to do but draw you in. But from the moment the movie starts, when you meet Dillinger and he fucking busts his boys out of prison and it just goes from there on out. It's just a very entertaining movie. It hooks you. It's definitely different from the older, gangster movies from the 60s and 70s, but it's a modern gangster movie. I wish they made more movies like this. They don't really do it too much, but hey, I mean, Boardwalk Empire is fucking awesome too. And that's more recent. This was actually going to go the route of a Boardwalk Empire in some ways, because I think Burroughs, before he made his book, he was going to do a mini series instead on the actual whole crime wave of the Great Depression, and then it got turned into a movie. So who knows, maybe one day that whole book will get turned into a mini series, because there's a lot more interesting stories. Dillinger is a very interesting one. I mean, even like, I think on the date of the shootout, inadvertently, if I remember correctly, they actually filmed on the anniversary of the shootout. Like, it was just a total accident. It was just very fucking crazy. Then also, spoiler alert, Dillinger does die at the end. He gets his fucking head blown off in the middle of a Chicago street. Now, this goes into people and morbid curiosity and fascination. So apparently after Dillinger died, a bunch of people got handkerchiefs and dipped them in his blood so they could keep it as a souvenir. I also found photos online of after Dillinger was killed, his body was displayed in a morgue, and you can see like Dillinger's body splayed out on a fucking table, and then behind the glass there's like a bunch of people gawking and peering like, oh shit, there's John Dillinger. But yeah, I mean, interesting. This guy definitely captivated a bunch of people. Same with like, Bonnie and Clyde, Babyface Nelson. I don't know about Babyface Nelson that much because in the movie he's depicted as like a total unhinged psychopath. He's going around slapping the shit out of people, shooting everyone. He's got a fucking hair trigger temper. Actually, thinking about this now, when I was watching Public Enemies a few days ago, and Stephen Graham was just eating up all the scenery as Babyface Nelson, I kept thinking, man, it would be really cool if one day we got a Babyface Nelson movie in the vein of Public Enemies, or like leading up to Public Enemies with Stephen Graham reprising the role, because again, he is a very, very good fucking actor when it comes to these movies. And, with the more than likely changing of the guard that's going to come up, I mean, The Irishman, a lot of people have agreed, is the last gangster mob movie where we're going to see Pacino, Keitel, De Niro, and Pesci. Maybe we should start giving these people, we should start making more movies like this, but getting people like Stephen Graham. I mean, we've been doing it with Tom Hardy, and he's been killing it with Legend. And one of my personal favorites he's done, but a lot of people don't like, is Capone, which, similar to this, is set in the last year of Capone's life, but not going on that because that's a whole different kind of movie. That's more of a psychological thriller, still interesting. But again, I think we need to start making more of these gangster movies because there's a lot of great stories that haven't really been told. They've done a few Dillinger movies, a few Bonnie and Clyde ones, but there's so much more we could be covering. And with all these like newer crop of actors coming up and really proving their keep with these genre-specific movies, I think we should just be going in with it because I don't know, I'm getting real tired of like, and it's a common theme on this channel, but I'm getting really tired of like the superhero movies, the fucking Star Wars movies, the remakes, the reboots, legacy sequels. Why don't we go back to telling original crime stories? Why don't we go back to telling original stories in general, making, just one-offs and stuff, It would just be so cool. Like, I miss the days when, the theater had a Public Enemies or a Pineapple Express or whatever else was out in '09, because I'm sure there was so much more variety. My fucking stoner fog brain isn't coming up with it, but yeah, this movie is an experience. I remember when it came out like it was yesterday. It feels just as fresh watching it today. It's really entertaining. The cast really delivers. It's truly awesome. It really works as a companion piece to both the original Heat by Michael Mann, because you get to see his style evolve into two different forms of genre filmmaking. I mean, they're both similar bank robberies, but set in two wildly different time periods, very different weapons and, vehicles and shit. But it also pairs really well with, again, Dillinger from 1973, which I hope to do a review soon. It's just the contrast is totally different, but totally interesting. You get two of the same story told through different lenses. You get a very gritty version, and you get a kind of gritty but romanticized version. Again, though, it doesn't really bother me that Dillinger is portrayed as the good guy Robin Hood in this movie. It works. I mean, Depp is very charismatic when he plays these roles, from, Donnie Brasco, even though he was an informant in that, to like Public Enemies, to even fucking Black Mass. He always delivers when it comes to these crime movies, and this is no different. This movie is fucking amazing. Again, if you like Tommy gun shootouts, if you like classic gangsters and fedoras, if you like classic cars, if you like Michael Mann movies, crime biographies, if you're a fucking cuck and you love sucking off the FBI, you'll like this movie. It's got everything for somebody, and it's a fucking awesome thrill ride. I mean, the cover of the DVD literally in front of me says explosive, thrilling, and suspenseful, and I couldn't agree more. This movie's got it all. I mean, for fuck's sakes, I could probably watch this again, you know what I'm saying? But I probably won't. There's a lot more movies I got to dive into, but I hope you guys enjoyed this review. It's been a few months since our last one. I honestly, it's been pretty busy. The death of Ozzy kind of set me back a bit. Same with Hulk Hogan. I mean, 2 in the same week with some serious fucked up shit. But that was recent. But I'm saying, like, also I was buying a bunch of DVDs. I honestly watched way too much shit to even get a solid, one at a time review going. But this movie, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I've watched it like 2 days ago, but like, it's just, this was the one where I was like, you know what, I'm going to review this one. So hopefully you guys like it. We're going to be hopefully coming back with more consistent reviews in the future. I don't know what's going to be next. Maybe Dillinger, maybe, I know me and Phantom were talking about doing Serpent in the Rainbow by Wes Craven, which would be really sick. But I got a few things going around. Hope you guys stay tuned. I want to say thank you to anyone this summer who's been, subscribing to the channel and continuously watching our videos. It really means a lot, and we really do appreciate it, especially because we've been in this slump where we haven't put anything out. I've been feeling kind of guilty myself, and it's not our usual thing, but I did say in one of our first videos we'd be doing gangster movies and mob movies, so I figured this would be a good one to come back, and fuck, you know what? I forgot to do the numerical rating. You know what? I'm going to give this movie out of a 10 rating right now before I forget. Public Enemies, I want to say about a 9.5. This movie is fucking awesome. The half point that comes off is the historical inaccuracies that show up in the movie, but it's not really a deal breaker, a huge deal, because again, John Dillinger, his gang, Bonnie and Clyde, these are all American legends. And with legends, there's room for interpretation. There's never going to be a 100% true to detail story because frankly, the records didn't really exist back then. A lot of what we have is, secondhand, third-hand stories from different people who were there or from what like the newspapers printed at that exact time. So in terms of inaccuracies, it could be a lot worse. It could have been a total shit show, but I don't think it was. I think it doesn't distract at all. I think this movie is downright amazing. And if I wasn't such a stickler, maybe I would give it a 10 out of 10, but 9.5 out of 10 still isn't bad. I highly recommend this movie to anyone who, again, I said likes gangster movies, thrillers, action movies, crime biographies. This movie's awesome. Don't forget to fucking like, comment, and subscribe. And hopefully we'll be back with some more episodes in the very, very near future. Peace.